you are a criminal. In this setting, you can get people to do most anything, do you see? Because you don't have to lay a hand on them.
This is the story of a 30-year search by U.S. intelligence agencies to perfect mind control. Some of those engaged in that search have agreed to talk about it for the first time. One said, "I think every last one of us felt sorry to attempt this kind of thing. We knew we were crossing the line. There would be victims." One intelligence agency tried to peel this man's mind back to reveal its deepest secrets.
I lived through it.
This man worked on some of these programs. He would write of his work, "It was fun, fun, fun." This is the story of the search for mind control.
Boom.
Man, I want some cookies right now. I'll tell you that.
Oh, they were so good.
Oh,
so good.
Okay, well, no, I'll just let you have your ritual, your own ritual. I was like, I wonder if I should just make the cookies, but I would rather you just. I mean, no, because you would be like,
no, okay.
I don't know, because I don't want a takeaway chip cookie. I have gnats all over the place.
Well, it's fine. Whatever, we can do whatever. It's just as long as it's some giant fat cookie.
Yeah, it is.
I'm okay.
Oh, I bet I can even do like really big ones.
Yeah.
Ooh. There's like how much? There's so much butter in those cookies. There's like so much.
Yeah, and I remember you were saying that you like to get McDonald's breakfast.
Yeah.
which I've actually been thinking a lot about, and that would be perfect too because it's so salty.
Well, also, you mean for your meat day?
Yeah,
but that's what I get too, because it's like you can get it just like plain, you know, because I don't want anything giving me any sort of toots. Or any of that. I don't need it. I don't want to upset stomach in any way whatsoever, so I want to eat like the most bland stuff possible. And I mean, because I might, like, I think I wouldn't even get cheese, I don't think, just because I was like, you know, like, just get me straight, man. Give me that microwave egg thing, and somehow that won't.
I do like the McGriddle I had once, and it was actually, I loved it. Yeah. I really did. Yeah. It's gross to think about, but whatever.
Why? It's just like a pancake with sausage.
I don't know. It's just,
essentially.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. People are weird. I do, but I love salty and sweet mixed together. So
yeah, that's the best.
I think that's why I like it. Yeah.
That's why the cookies are good. Or mine.
Mm-hmm. Yours?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Let's start this pig.
What? What's that about?
I don't know. My strongman coach if we had like a big day or something, he'd be like, "Let's finish this pig."
Okay.
Or something like, "Let's roast this hog." I don't know.
Okay. I was just wondering. Okay, let's get going. Let's start. Oh, hey.
Okay.
Hey, we're Creep It Real.
Creeping it real today. Hardcore.
Real
hardcore.
Okay. I can't be giggling the whole beginning because then somebody will say. I've turned it off because all I heard was giggling in the first 3 minutes of the show.
Excuse me for having fun.
Yeah. Sorry to be happy for once. Okay. So, hey, I'm Ashley.
I'm Shy.
Okay. We're Creep It Real. I already said it, so let's get going. Okay. Today. While this may not be the first time that we've generated the general feeling, it's going to be, in my opinion, I think we're going to both agree on this, that it's the kind of the first official meeting of the Let's Just Burn It All Down club or crew, whatever you want to call it. The Let's Burn It All Down crew. So I think we said this a couple times before, that we've talked about some pretty sketchy possible government situations, conspiracies.
Definitely Bohemian Grove was a big one.
Bohemian Grove, the Franklin cover-up stuff, and Montauk even had some. If it's
yes.
to be believed, it had some kind of sketchy stuff going
Yes.
on. But today we are going to start part 1 of MK Ultra, and so
MK Ultra was the CIA's mind control program that they organized by the Office of Scientific Intelligence and coordinated with the U.S. Army Biological Warfare Laboratories. Okay.
That's cool.
So, yeah. It began in 1953. They supposedly reined it in between 64 and 67, and it's said to have been stopped in 73, despite controversy that it actually ended.
Right. Which, well, I think, like, in the course of this discussion, we'll show that there's a lot of, probably, and it won't be today, probably, but there's a lot of evidence to suggest that it's still going on, so.
Right.
Yeah.
And the whole idea of it, the basis of it, was to develop drugs and procedures to weaken individuals' minds, especially during interrogations, and essentially force confessions through mind control.
Right. So more mind control stuff.
Mm-hmm. It makes me really think of like Nazi Germany when they were experimenting on humans.
Yeah.
In that way, trying to create like super soldiers or zombies or whatever.
Captain Russia.
Hail Hydra, yeah. Captain Russia's.
But
or Hitler's.
Hitler Youth. So
yeah.
Well, okay. Well, right. And then brought to America with Project Paperclip. We did that. So either way, there's all this shit going on. Okay, so I'm not gonna. Okay, that's one thing I want to say. I'm sure that there are some, mega libertarians out there that are like rolling their eyes hardcore about the fact that we're covering this topic because they're like, duh, But I have to say, there are a lot of people who've never heard of this before. So
yeah,
we know personally a handful of people that are like, what? What's that? So I know that there are people out there that, even though this is all declassified, freaking factual information directly from the CIA and their documents on what has like survived the MK Ultra situation. Some people still kind of consider it a conspiracy, so it's not at all. And I think we'll repeat that a number of times because I'm just reminding you that this is actually straight out of documents that still have a shit ton of stuff blacked out and stuff that we never even really saw. So anyway, okay, so it went from being a government conspiracy to being partially exposed to the public in 1975 with Gerald Ford's investigation into CIA activities within the United States. This was actually hampered by the fact that CIA director at the time, Richard Helms, he ordered all the MK Ultra documents to be destroyed in 1973. So the investigation itself relied on sworn testimony of the direct participant and the few documents that were left after this guy destroyed them all. So that really is troubling. That only suggests that what were they doing that was too terrible or, beyond our realm of imagination, I guess, that we haven't even seen it.
Well, if you listen to, like last podcast, or even if you just do your own research on people like Joseph Mengele, what would make us any different, or our government have a better moral compass than they did, especially when it came to taking control over other countries? Right.
Well, nothing. Like, obviously, that's really the point of this, is like, the government is not going to stop at some arbitrary moral code, no. They're not going to follow some arbitrary moral code when it comes to figuring out how to get what they want, which is power and more power. So, I'm just like, basically what we've learned here is like, which I guess we can get into at the end of this, but it's like, basically, what is life really?
I don't know.
It's okay. Well, it's just, okay. I mean, it's horrible. It's some horrible stuff. Okay. So here, let's get more into it. Okay. So I'm just like going off on tangent. So In 1977, a FOIA request uncovered a cache of about 20,000 documents relating to the project, which led to Senate hearings later that year. And in 2001, so that's like, over 24 years later, some of the surviving documents relating to the project were declassified. And actually, a teenager named John Greenwald Jr. began to really dig into this and go through the documents that were released and the list of documents that they claimed to be releasing to him, and found inconsistencies and was filing all these FOIA requests. Dude, I mean, geez, at that age, I was just like, just give me some drugs and I'll be good. I wasn't trying to break any secrets of the government's horrible actions. So in 2004, on his website, The Black Vault, he published the full documents that he had received in their entirety. And then in 2017, they were updated even more because he continued to question the CIA regarding the documents that they gave him, and like how there was missing documents, basically. So they were like slowly but surely like giving him more and more stuff. Like we just said, it's pretty, while kind of a nebulous idea, it's kind of scary to think about what it actually means about what everything that they were doing, if there's all this stuff that they're not giving you, or they're only giving you once they block out half of it, or whatever. So like what is really beyond them is there's probably not much.
I mean, just literally a few months ago, there was a letter that came to light that described that they used 6 dogs, and they had implanted them with brain control device, and they were made to run, turn, and like run back with their mind control device.
Oh.
So literally, 4 months ago?
Yeah. Cool.
With that. Yeah.
Just on dogs, though. That's it. Nobody else. So we're going to kind of treat this as a beginner's guide to government crimes. And then as we go on this year, we're going to bring probably some more that you'll be like, that can't be true. And I'm like, yeah, let's reference this and then go from there.
Yeah.
And other stuff that we've talked about before. Yeah, nothing is beneath them, really. So the experiments that the MK Ultra project conducted were on mostly human test subjects.
Experiments were done at 80 institutions ranging from colleges, hospitals, prisons, and pharmaceutical companies. And
medical schools,
a lot of
too,
times,
I saw. I'm like,
yep. Mm-hmm. Of course, at medical schools,
yeah.
There's plenty of people to experiment on. Then the CIA often used front operations at these institutions.
Right.
So kind of like money laundering, but human life laundering.
Yeah, pretty much, really, because the project used a ton of illegal activities to conduct their experiments, namely the use of unwitting citizens of America and Canada, which is interesting that you didn't even know that you were being tested on a lot of the time.
Oh yeah, no, they were testing on. One government agent was quoted as saying they picked people that couldn't fight back.
Oh, while not surprising, that's, great. That's really horrifying. Yeah.
So unknowing other CIA agents, the mentally handicapped, and a lot of sex workers.
What's new on that one? Not that it's funny, but... So they were using many methodologies to manipulate individuals' mental states and alter brain function, including, but definitely not limited to, the covert administration of drugs, namely LSD, and other chemicals, sensory deprivation, isolation, sexual and verbal abuse, hypnosis, and various forms of torture. So, ain't life grand? That's really heartening to know that this is what's going on.
I can't even choose which one would be worse. I mean, you may think that the whole sensory deprivation thing may be a little lesser evil than the others, but it will mess with you so bad. And even isolation, there's been so many studies that isolation will drive people crazy. Mm-hmm. So all of them are terrible.
Well, yes, they are. Plus, some of them might have just been gotten the whole kit and caboodle. Like, you get
LSD, you get LSD.
You also get to be isolated at the same time and sexually abused. So congratulations. Okay, so regarding MK Ultra, the Supreme Court has stated it was concerned with the research and development of chemical, biological, and radiological materials capable of employment in clandestine operations to control human behavior. It consisted of 149 sub-projects, which the agency contracted out to various universities, research foundations, and similar institutions. Like Shai said, all those schools, hospitals, medical schools, all those prisons,
institutions.
Yeah, everything. The researchers participated because the agency funded MK Ultra indirectly. Many of the participating individuals were unaware that they were dealing with the agency altogether. So that's just a direct quote from the Supreme Court regarding this project. So, it was bad shit. It's like, this was not, they weren't joking.
Yeah. So in 1955, a document came out describing the scope and size of the experiment and the lengths of the mind-altering substances would go to. So like we said before, there was no moral stopping point. They just did it until the human body literally could not take anymore. So promote illogical thinking so that if someone was in public, they would be discredited if they started speaking about the experiments they had been exposed to. Increased mentation and perception. They wanted people to... I remember watching The Men Who Stare at Goats a long time ago, but that's kind of the basis on that. Cause faster and slower aging, so they were trying to manipulate the aging process as well to either speed it up or slow it down for some reason.
Why?
Right.
I'm like, why would you
They wanted it to have similar effects. I have no idea.
Okay, I don't know. I'm sure there's somebody out there that has a good idea.
Again, maybe to produce super soldiers. I don't know.
Just make you have eternal youth or something gradually. I just don't know why you would want to increase your age. But...
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll take the slow it down, but...
Yeah. Well, are they just trying to, send babies off into teenhood? Maybe that's it. That's the only thing I can think of.
They wanted it to have sometimes the similar effects of alcohol, so for someone to appear drunk in case they were interrogated, it would be no use. Produce signs and symptoms of recognized disease in a reversible way for malingering, which I was like, I don't understand that. But
okay, I think what they mean there is that they want you to have the appearance of having a disease, but not really have the disease, so that you can, for some reason, stay in a hospital maybe or something for an extended period of time and look ill or something.
Cause temporary and permanent brain damage and loss of memory. Again, so in case you get captured by the enemy, you could possibly be useless to interrogation tactics because you have a damaged brain. Or if someone had been captured on our side, if they had been interrogated or whatever, then they wouldn't have remembered what happened.
Yeah.
Enhance ability to withstand torture, coercion during interrogation, and brainwashing.
Sign me up.
Right? Okay. Materials and physical methods which will produce amnesia preceding and during their use. And this was one I was like, what? But they actually did experiments on animals and humans where they would not swing them about, but make them rock back and forth and hit their head multiple times, trying to cause concussions and amnesia.
Cool.
Yeah. Physical methods of producing shock and confusion over extended periods of time and capable of surreptitious use. So they wanted to do this to you without you knowing. So sticking LSD in your Topo Chico or whatever you drink.
Topo Chico. Okay.
Produce physical disablement. That one's pretty cut and dry. Chemicals that cause blisters. Why they would want that, I don't know. Maybe so you look like a leper.
Okay. Whenever people see a UFO, sometimes they'll have blisters and stuff. With
burnt skin.
Yeah, radiation, but it creates boils and stuff. I'm like, are they making people think they got abducted by aliens out there? I don't know.
But that's pretty... You could just, throw bleach on someone and it would burn their skin.
Well, that's too obvious.
Okay, yeah, it stinks. They wanted to alter personality and codependence. So, kind of cutting off that human dependence and creating this person that didn't need no man. They're a strong, independent woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cause mental confusion to disable individual from lying during questioning. They did come up with the sodium, penthol.
Oh, phenobarbital.
The true serum. Yeah. So that actually ended up being pretty successful.
Yeah.
Lower ambition and working efficiency of men when given in indetectable amounts. So just slowly poisoning them over time, causing them to not be able to work to full capacity.
Ooh, if only we could record the sound of the face you just made.
What was
very
it?
sass face. You did a whole head thing. Okay.
Okay. There. Is that what you wanted?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Your laughter brings me joy.
Oh, I'm crying.
So they wanted to create a pill that could be administered through food, drink, or as an aerosol ad hoc basis, which I've learned so many phrases during this research. Ad hoc is like as needed. So
honestly, I'm really impressed.
I'm smart now. Which makes me wonder. I mean, we have so many pills we take. We have so many injections. We have so many things that we spray on ourselves. Who's to say your dry shampoo isn't laced with like arsenic? Whatever.
What other kind of substance could they be putting in there?
Yeah.
Something to make us listless.
Well, they were, that whole thing with Nazis. They were saying Hitler was putting fluoride in water, and it over time would make you into a more subservient human and kind of take away your will to want to rebel.
Don't we put fluoride in water?
We do. But
don't start going off on fluoride because
okay.
Because you know who did the other day that it was that terrible account I sent you. That one where they were saying that
the flat earther guy? Yeah. Prayer warrior for Christ or whatever?
Yes.
Last one.
Okay.
In a very small and undetectable amounts, cause a person not to be able to perform physical activity. So just incapacitate someone.
Yeah.
Over time,
but, they could be doing this to just entire areas of people.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh.
Well, I mean, it's all really great stuff.
Well, and you take a look at, and I'm sorry, this is going to be totally my opinion. So if you hate opinions, just fast forward to this part.
Oh yeah, okay, that's true.
You just look at society today, and honestly, there's so many lazy people. People are kind of like, allergic to hard work, and maybe it's just poisoning over time. Just
maybe.
I don't know.
I think that part of that is really just also just modern society.
Conveniences.
Yeah. And, when you're able to live by ordering everything to your home and not having to leave to go to a job or
even the store
then maybe at some point a giant cat would have eaten you.
Yeah.
But now you're able to just live.
We live in.
Okay, well, I mean, do you want to get into some of
Let's get into some of the projects. Experiments and projects.
So my first one that I have written down is Project Bluebird, which became Artichoke.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
And I kept calling it Avocado. Project Avocado.
Well,
I like it better.
It's better, but it's not right. So, okay, I'm sorry.
Do people even eat artichokes anymore?
Dude, artichoke dip is freaking fine.
It's good. I know. But when's the last time you saw an artichoke at the store?
Today. I saw one.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't buy it, but I did see it.
My mom used to make them and then dip them in mayo. It was good.
It sounds mayo. No, I will dip anything in mayo. Give me anything, I'll dip it in mayo. I'm telling you right now. Okay. So
that mayonnaise.
Oh, some good old mayonnaise, like some real legit mayonnaise, not some crap one, but a good one.
Yeah. Good mayo.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We digress.
Yeah, we do. That's really a good extreme digression. So, Dr. Colin A. Ross described the unethical experiments that were conducted by psychiatrists in this project to create amnesia, new identities, hypnotic access codes, and new memories in the minds of experimental subjects. His research is based on 15,000 pages of documents that were obtained under the Freedom of Information Act, and he is a past president of the International Society for the Study of Disassociation, so he's not some noob that doesn't know what he's talking about. This Project Bluebird was approved by the CIA director on April 20th, 1950, and in 1951 it was renamed Artichoke. Not avocado.
Not avocado.
They included a great deal of work on the creation of amnesia, hypnotic couriers, and the Manchurian Candidate, which, I'll be honest, I didn't really know anything other than that was a movie, but I wasn't aware that our government was creating.
Well, and I was so young when that movie came out. We actually went and saw it, but I had no interest in it. I didn't understand what I was watching.
Okay, so I guess they remade it then, because I only was knowing the original, which is very old.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
But okay, so who was in it?
I don't remember. I want to say Denzel Washington, but I can't.
Oh, I think you might be right.
Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'll rewatch it.
But anyway, which is essentially you're brainwashing someone and then sending them off to like perform a task that they don't even know they're doing, like killing somebody or...
Oh, kind of like a sleeper agent?
Yeah, like a sleeper agent
type
of thing. But... Well, like, so we'll get into some of these, because some of them I'm like, is this real life? Okay.
I think so.
I think it is. I already said it, and I said I was going to repeat it, but here I am saying to the audience, is this real life, everyone? I'm not sure. So the Bluebird and Artichoke documents are available through a FOIA request. Like all similar documents, they are heavily redacted, and a great deal of the text has been blacked out. There are other documents that are still entirely classified that they haven't released at all. And that means that they thought some of the stuff was okay to tell us, but other stuff is not.
But what classifies it as okay and what makes it classified as not? When will we know the truth? Is it going to be another 100 years from now where they're like, you know what, it's been enough time. Why don't we just let it all hang out, air our dirty laundry?
Sun's out, tits out.
We're living in the Matrix anyway.
Well,
show me your tots, government.
Show us your tots. Okay. Listen. So I'm thinking. Oh gosh, dang it! I did not think this was going to turn out to be such a giggle fest, but it is. So listen. Okay, why did I say that though? Oh, because I was thinking. Okay, so maybe some of those might be. What would it be? Stuff they don't want us to know.
God. Honestly, how much did you smoke before this?
I did. Okay, sorry. Okay, it was like an hour ago. Okay, no, but I was just thinking how funny it was that I was like, I got it. It's stuff they don't want us to know. Okay.
Whoa, is it stuff they don't want us to know?
Okay. Whew. So Bluebird and Artichoke were administered in a compartmented fashion, meaning that the details of the program were kept secret even from other personnel within the CIA. And when they were asked why the LSD research done under Artichoke was hidden from the CIA committee in charge of Artichoke, Sidney Gottlieb, Chief Medical Staff, Technical Services Division, CIA, he has about 7 titles behind his name.
Yeah.
He responded, I imagine the only reason would have been concern for broadening awareness of its existence. So basically what I just said.
Okay.
So basically he's saying, I imagine the only reason is because they didn't want anyone else to know. So there you go. Okay. I guess I'm not as dumb as I thought.
Oh, right. Because they were trying to beat the Soviets to it. Essentially, they wanted to be the first to the moon. They wanted to have mind control first. You know what I mean? It was always a race.
Yeah.
Who could be bigger power?
So an article in the February 18th, 1979 Wilmington Sunday News Journal stated that the Artichoke interrogation was conducted in a safe house in the remote countryside staffed by security-cleared personnel. It was conducted under medical cover of a routine physical and psychological assessment. The subject was transported to the safe house in a covert car. At the safe house, he was given a conventional interrogation and then some whiskey. This was followed by 2 grams of phenobarbital, which put him to sleep. A lie detector test was given, and the subject was given intravenous chemicals. Following the chemically assisted interrogation, the Artichoke techniques were applied in 3 stages. A false memory was introduced into the subject's mind without his conscious control. The procedure was repeated again with interrogation added. So Artichoke operations involved detailed, systematic creation of specific amnesia barriers, new identities, and hypnotically implanted codes and triggers. Like, really now, though? I just have to say, I personally would not have really believed this, you know?
Well, no, seriously.
It is such a movie.
And they were enforcing, there was a forced morphine addiction and withdrawal experiment. So you have a drug addict, you have their drug, they're going to say and do whatever you tell them to.
Right. Well, yeah.
To get their fix.
Well, and you know what? that's actually something that comes up here. So,
right.
Okay. Okay, so here's a good little anecdote. It's not a good at all. It's an actual situation that happened. So an artichoke document that was dated January 7th, 1953 describes the experimental creation of multiple personality in two 19-year-old girls by the CIA.
Wow.
In the document, when I say H, it stands for hypnotic, hypnotized, or hypnotism in the notes. Okay, so I'm just going to read this, showing you what they are saying actually happened here. So these subjects have clearly demonstrated that they can pass from a fully awake state to a deep H-controlled state via the telephone, via some very subtle signal that cannot be detected by other persons in the room, and with the other individuals being able to note the change. It has been clearly shown that individuals can be induced into H by telephone, by receiving written matter, or by use of a code, signal, or words. Control of those hypnotized can be passed from one individual to another without great difficulty. It has also been shown by experimentation with these girls that they can act as unwilling couriers for information purposes, and that they can be conditioned to a point where they believe a change in identity on their part, even on the polygraph. I mean, okay, so hold on now. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. So I'm just not going to read the whole thing.
Okay.
But that's pretty freaking scary, because that just allows you to imagine what is the end of their control on these females. There has been, in the notes here, this one lady pulled a gun out and would have shot another lady had the gun that they given her been loaded, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
But there's that. In some of these doctors that were working with these women, some of them had not past experience molesting, but they did. They were using this hypnotism to get women to think they were married to them and end up throwing themselves at them and having sex with them all the time, hypnotizing them to have sex with them. So,
okay.
So which is rape, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
So, cool. But, officially the documents released for MK Ultra, that is not stated. It's in a past document from a doctor that worked on MK Ultra. But it just kind of supports that, what the hell are they doing? We know they're doing this stuff with their brainwashing women to act as couriers, without even knowing it. Their identities are changed in their mind. I mean, it's all sorts of weird-ass stuff going on here.
Yes. And it's all very wrong.
Yes.
Very wrong.
And the materials for this project established conclusively that the full-on Manchurian candidates were created and tested successfully by physicians with top-secret clearance from the CIA. So, like I said, it's not just a movie. That's something that apparently sounds like a movie. Sounds as hell like a movie. I'm like, I don't know how else to say this. So hypnosis was not the only method for creation of controlled amnesia. Drugs, magnetic fields, sound waves, sleep deprivation, solitary confinement, like you were saying, and many other methods were studied under this Bluebird and Artichoke umbrella. So these projects were rolled over into MK Ultra once it began. So that's what they were working on before they were in MK Ultra, but then once MK Ultra started, who knows where I guess we'll continue to see. So we were just wondering what was a Manchurian candidate, and I wrote it. So,
okay, cool.
Here's a document entitled Hypnotic Experimentation and Research. It was dated February 10th, 1954. So it's describing the creation of a Manchurian candidate as an assassin, and it says, Miss... and it blanks her name out, was then instructed, having previously expressed a fear of firearms, that she would use every method at her disposal to awaken this other lady, who was in a deep hypnotic sleep. Failing this, she would pick up a pistol nearby and fire it at the sleeping woman. She was instructed that her rage would be so great that she would not hesitate to kill her for failing to wake up. And... she actually did it. She actually shot her, but the gun wasn't loaded. When she woke up or was taken out of this hypnotic sleep or whatever state, they tried to hand her the gun and she recoiled. So, but just only a moment earlier, supposedly, according to these doctors, shot the lady if the gun would have been loaded.
Golly.
So the mind control stuff, the experimentation, it was systematic, organized. It involved many of the top psychiatrists in medical schools. It was conducted on prisoners and psychiatric patients without their knowledge. Much of the research, I was shocked to find out, was published in medical journals, and the reception of it was supportive of the experiments. This was not an isolated incident either. We talked about on the Montauk Project last year, which I know it's a lot of, you might have been like, it's not true. But when you look at the broader reality of what the government has done, it kind of fits perfectly with what MK Ultra was. And like we were talking about a minute ago, Project Paperclip and all these other, where we brought Nazis over for these exact same purposes. And the Tuskegee syphilis experiments were conducted on unwitting black farmers. There were radiation experiments that were done on citizens for the Manhattan Project. And we could really just go on and on and on. So, this is just who we are, everybody. So, accept it.
Accept it.
Accept it and just lay down and die. Or we could, like we said at the beginning, you can be part of the Burn It All Down crew.
Burn it all down.
Okay. So the mind control experiments were intertwined with radiation experiments and research on chemical and biological weapons that were funded by the CIA, Army, Navy, Air Force, and other agencies, including the Public Health Service and the Scottish Rite Foundation. All right. So
that didn't upset you enough. So another sub-experiment, the Operation Midnight Climax, right?
Okay.
So they set up...
It sounds sexy.
It does sound sexy. But it's not. I mean, anyway.
Okay.
So they set up several brothels with safe houses in San Francisco. But their main target were really shy men that would come into the brothels, do their stuff. And they had a bunch of the sex workers on the CIA payroll that would dose the men with LSD. And they had one-way mirrors in the... This is so creepy. They had one-way mirrors in some of the rooms and they would film the sex workers and the Johns. And then afterwards, they would be interrogated and questioned about what they were doing and whatnot. And they were really looking for, like I said, shy guys that normally wouldn't talk about what just happened. So they were brought back to the safe houses for interrogation. And this ultimately led to the practice of sexual blackmail.
Oh. Franken cover-up.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
So oftentimes the subjects, while they were on their LSD trip, they were often threatened that their trips would be extended if they didn't reveal their secrets. So you're just at the mercy of these people, which is so sick.
Listen, I gotta say that, personally, in my own personal experience, I've had a few times where I was like, oh, please tell me this will be over soon. And it wasn't because I chose that myself, but imagine you're like, I wish this was over and I wasn't being tortured and whatever else. And then they're like, well, we'll do it to you more if you don't.
Well, yeah, because an LSD trip can last up to 12 hours.
Yeah. Oh, so then not only are you just tripping balls, but you're sleep deprived, probably haven't eaten anything.
Yeah.
Like dehydrated.
Probably stink. I don't know. So
yes, you definitely stink, but I'm not sure if that's like the worst of it. You're like, I wouldn't have been able to take a bath.
I need a shower.
Okay.
So some of the participants were actually consensual, but that meant that they were exposed to more extreme testing. 7 subjects from Kentucky were given LSD 77 consecutive days in a row.
Oh shoot, dude!
How you were just not dead after a week? I don't know.
Those are the type of stories that I would actually believe because I always hear people say, and maybe hopefully you're not one of them, Shy, that my aunt works inspecting spoons because she took acid and it was a bad trip, and now she has never been able to be the same since.
No, yes. So sometimes, essentially, some people could take multiple trips and be fine, but some people take one and it messes them up for the rest of their life. And they have these awful flashbacks, and it's kind of like suffering from a PTSD from taking acid, LSD, same thing.
Yeah, okay.
So,
well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. So it started getting to the point where surprise trips were a common thing, even among the CIA agents. One agent was given a dose in his morning coffee, and he became psychotic and he ran away to Washington, where he claimed he saw a monster in every car that he had passed. Dr. Frank Olson was an army chemist, and he was given a surprise trip. Afterwards, he fell into a deep depression and, quote-unquote, fell from a 13th story window.
Did you read about this, that in 22 years later, in 1975, Nelson Rockefeller reported on this situation, and that man, Frank Olson's family, was actually compensated $750,000 by Congress because of this. So they knew that he didn't just
fall,
kill himself.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Very interesting.
So LSD was ultimately deemed to be unpredictable. No duh. I mean, how did you not know that after like the few spur times? And they withdrew, and what am I trying to say? That resulted in a lot of the supporters withdrawing their funds and support.
Okay.
So they started experimenting with other drugs such as heroin, morphine, temazepam, mescaline, sodium pentothal, and intravenous barbiturates and meth, which was scary because they would have one arm hooked up to the barbiturates, which put you to sleep, and one arm hooked up to meth, so they would inject you with the barbiturates.
Cool.
And as soon as you fell asleep, they would inject you with the meth.
Oh.
And it caused a lot of babbling and just erratic behaviors. Like, well, no duh.
Yeah, feeling a little out of sorts, I would imagine.
No duh.
Putting it a little lightly.
I didn't find any recaps on Midnight Climax. What's the Michael Scott movie? Michael Scarn? Midnight...
Project Midnight?
Michael Scarn.
Oh my gosh.
Threat Level Midnight. Oh my god. So I didn't find any recaps on it. I don't know if you did. I think they just kind of let it fizzle out.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Okay, that's all I had on LSD, I think, honestly.
Okay. Yeah.
In addition to LSD, there's the Amitol. Okay, so they did a study on patients at a male psychiatric prison ward regarding psychophysiologic and verbal correlates of an altered consciousness during Amitol. They basically drugged somebody with Amitol and gave them an interview.
What is Amitol?
Amitol is a barbiturate, which is a sedative, a hypnotic sedative, prescribed to treat sleep disorders or as a pre-anesthetic for surgeries. So I guess I don't really know exactly what they were doing to these guys at this prison, but they were unwittingly giving them this Amitol, which is a hypnotic sedative, and interviewing them, and it was called experimental exploration of altered consciousness, which, you know, sounds pretty ambiguous, but it also sounds kind of like something that they were doing at Montauk. And I'm just going to keep referencing everything else while we're doing this.
People are scary. Do they still prescribe this stuff, or is it, do you know?
I don't know about Amitol. Okay. Chemical warfare experiments were also carried out in many locations involving releasing bacteria and viruses into general population areas.
Awesome.
I know. There was one example, which was the release of a bacterium Serratia maritians in New York and San Francisco and Pennsylvania. This has been known to cause urinary tract infections, wound infections, and pneumonia. It's called an opportunistic pathogen, especially in people with weakened or compromised immune systems. It can be very bad. And so that was just one example of them just putting out some bacteria to just
That's terrible.
See what it does. Apparently there was a lot of people that were reported with these infections in the hospital in San Francisco around this time period, obviously.
Was this in correlation? Well, was this the same thing as when you were telling me about the syphilis thing, or was that like a totally different?
We're probably going to cover that, the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, because it's pretty horrifying. Okay. But it's just another one of the things that has really a magical thing that's been done for the world by the government.
Yay. So 2 of instances that really stood out to me were the case of Linda McDonald. She came into the Allen Institute, which was one of the many institutes, complaining about depression, lack of sleep, aches and pains, just being an adult, essentially.
Being alive.
So being alive. The doctor immediately diagnosed her with schizophrenia, which didn't sound like schizophrenia at all. It just sounded like she needed some extra sleep and probably some vitamins.
Right. Sun.
So in these institutions, they had what they called sleep rooms where the experimentations would be held. So they put her into a drug-induced coma, took her to a sleep room where they kept her in the coma for 84 days while subjecting her to over 100 electroshock therapy treatments. Wow. In the end, she reverted back to infancy. She couldn't go to the bathroom on her own. She didn't recollect. She recollect. She didn't know.
It is a word that it would be applicable
Okay.
here.
Yeah. She couldn't recall who the people were that she was in the hospital with. She didn't know who her family was or nothing. And she really had to retrain her brain and learn everything all over again.
Right.
Did it cure her depression?
I think that was probably a completely unnecessary entire stay at this place.
And okay, anytime I think of electroshock therapy, I just think of electroshock therapy. I think of Requiem for a Dream, and I just want to vomit when
the whole movie.
And that's how I imagine it being, though. It's just super aggressive people forcing you into the situation and doing what they think is right, and you're just having a mental breakdown, and you just need a hug.
Yeah, you need a hug. So, instead, the doctor's like, "Oh shit, we got a perfect experimentee." Yeah. I feel like it's kind of analogous to every single woman, or generally woman, but sometimes male, that we cover that is in a bad way and gets taken advantage of in some way by some opportunist killer or something. And essentially, this doctor is that opportunist killer. Oh, cool.
They're predators.
Yep.
So Robert Loki, he had came into the same institute complaining of a leg pain and was convinced it was all in his head. So he was given LSD and other drugs and placed into
that old leg pain. Sorry.
Yeah. You won't be thinking about your leg pain.
You'll be thinking about, why did God put you on this earth if only to suffer?
Yes. So they put him into a drug-induced coma, of course, and the operatives played an audio message, "You killed your mother," to him for 23 days straight. Mm-hmm. I tried to find more information on it, but I couldn't, so I don't know what came about that, but that's just the kind of sick stuff they would do to people. So
I bet his depression wasn't cured.
It probably got worse. That's all I can say about that. So, I mean, they're just trying to play God, really, this whole thing. So
the MK Ultra contractor that has been written about probably the most extensively was Dr. Ewan Cameron, and he had been conducting unethical and inhumane brainwashing experiments since the 30s at Brandon Mental Hospital. It was there that he would have schizophrenic patients lie in red light for up to 8 hours a day for up to 8-month periods, and would also put them in heated cages until their body temperature would rise to 102 degrees. He also overutilized coma therapy, putting patients into comas 2 to 5 hours a day for up to 50 days in a row. So this dude somehow was legitimately, at various times, the president of the Quebec, Canadian, American, and World Psychiatric Associations, and he was one of 4 co-founders of the World Psychiatric Association. That makes me a little dubious. Like,
lovely.
In a paper published in the American Journal of Psychiatry entitled Psychic Driving, this Dr. Cameron describes his own brainwashing techniques and says that psychic driving was carried out in 2 stages. In the first stage, patients were depatterned, which meant that they were reduced to a vegetable state through a combination of massive amounts of electroconvulsive shock, drug-induced sleep, and sensory isolation. When fully depatterned, patients were incontinent of urine and feces, unable to feed themselves, and unable to state their name, location, or the date. In the second stage, psychic driving was introduced, and this consisted of hundreds of hours of tape loops being played to the patient through earphones, special helmets, or speakers in the sensory isolation room. Dr. Cameron received a grant from Canada's Department of Health and Welfare for $57,750 for the years 1961 to 64 for a study of factors which promote or retard personality change in individuals exposed to prolonged repetition of verbal signals. So that's the kind of guy that in all of these papers, he is the one that is written about the most in these declassified documents. So that's, this is really making me really wonder. I'm like, are doctors, is this an evil institution?
Truly.
I don't know what to think about. I don't know what to think about this right now.
We're all just guinea pigs.
So, Okay, so here's another great doctor. His name was Jose Delgado, and he received funding for brain electrode research on children and adults. They were able to control movements of both animals and humans by pushing buttons in a remote transmitter box. That's kind of like what you were saying. In his reports, he includes an 11-year-old boy who, after undergoing electrical stimulation of his superior temporal convolution, began expressing confusion about whether he was a boy or a girl, and said he would like to be a girl. He then stated that he wanted to marry the male interviewer, which obviously, do you, boy, but not because the doctor shocked your brain, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there were also 2 female adult subjects who, after undergoing similar electrical brain stimulation, expressed their desire to marry the interviewers and expressed declarations of pleasure. So, as I said earlier, they were using this situation to, I mean, maybe at first they didn't realize they were going to elicit such, I mean, from what I was reading, it sounded like some of these girls, oh, I'm not done. Yep, here we go. So, okay, So here's Dr. Heath, chairman of the Department of Psychiatry and Neurology at Tulane University. He placed brain electrodes in a young homosexual man and fitted him with a box. A button on the box could be used to electrically stimulate an electrode implanted in the septal region of his brain, a pleasure center. During one 3-hour period, the patient, referred to as B19, stimulated himself 1,500 times. And so during the session, B19 stimulated himself to a point that he was experiencing an almost overwhelming euphoria and elation and had to be disconnected despite his vigorous protests.
Oh my gosh. Okay. No.
What?
I don't know did you ever watch Black Mirror on Netflix?
Yeah.
Did you see the one where the guy had the thing hooked up to his head and he would associate pain with pleasure, and it got to be where he needed more pain to where he started cutting off like fingers and stuff and
no, I didn't see that
and yeah, and toes and cutting himself because it just wasn't enough. I'm just like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Is this real life?
Yeah, maybe. That's something else that I keep thinking every time I get older. What an idiot. But no, as I've gotten older, I'm like, why are there so many aspects of sci-fi shows and movies that as I look into things, I'm like, wait a second, that's actually real. That might actually be real.
Well, Kevin was telling me that he heard somewhere, it was probably a Joe Rogan podcast, that a lot of sci-fi movies, he feels they just kind of prime us for what's real in life so that when it does happen in real life, it's not such a shock.
Okay.
Like the whole Hail Hydra thing. I mean, that could really be happening, but we're not like, ooh, about it because it happened in a movie. So we're
What's Hail Hydra? I don't even know. I'm sorry. I was trying to pretend like
I don't know, some Avengers thing. I don't get it. I don't watch those movies really.
Okay.
I did like the new one though with Guardians of the Galaxy because I love Chris Pratt. He's hilarious. And I love Thor. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But he was saying either it makes us think, oh, this is a movie. It could never happen. It's not real. So we're not attuned to it happening in our real life. Or it kind of buffers for when it actually does happen.
Side note, I loved Chris Pratt as Andy Dwyer. Like, that's one of my favorite TV characters ever.
Parks and Rec?
Yeah. Like, to me, on that show, he was the most endearing of all time. But otherwise, I'm like, all right, and whatever your name is. All right, Andy, I don't need you anymore. Okay. No, I don't enjoy him as a raptor wrangler. Oh, I just watched the new Jurassic Park movie, and I was like, what is this? It's not even good, cheesy.
Stop.
Yeah,
I know.
Just stop. It's so stupid. Like, it was so stupid, and obviously,
so dumb.
But it was so dumb. It was like, could we maybe not make every single possible thing that happens on this the most predictable possible thing? Plus, I hate the way that they had that little girl just scream all the way down the hallway so that the dinosaur could just find her the best thing to do as you're running from this thing is to possibly just continuously scream. Anyway, this is a definite side note. No, but okay, so this euphoria thing, okay, I was like, side note. I was like, is this me right now? Is that me? Is this me? Okay, so the last thing I have to talk about today is non-lethal weapons, which is a broad category which includes devices for beaming various kinds of energy at human targets in order to temporarily incapacitate them or to control or affect their behavior.
And that's very real things that are happening now.
Yeah,
so.
And we've talked about this. We know that Hitler used supersonic waves or whatever the hell to
sounds.
To make people feel uncomfortable and yada yada. The funding for this type of research began with MK Ultra. So there is a subproject subproject number 62 that documents certain kinds of radio frequency energy that have been found to affect reversible neurological changes in chimpanzees. So whatever, they're doing something. And I love that it's the stuff that they have in here that they're saying they're doing on like chimpanzees and stuff. The documents that they haven't declassified is probably them doing it on humans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of stuff I'm thinking. So Subproject 54 was studying how to produce concussions from a distance using mechanical blast waves propagated through the air. Concussions. So you don't need to even have somebody banging their head back and forth on the walls of the cage or whatever. They can do it with this mechanical thing. The contractor says that such a concussion is always followed by amnesia for the actual moment of the accident. So you wouldn't even remember that it happened. He also states that the blast duration would be in the order of 1/10 of a second. Masking of a noise of this duration should not be difficult. It would be advantageous to establish the effectiveness of both of the above methods as a tool in brainwash therapy. So, I mean, I hate to be such a loon, but like we could all be freaking just brainwashed to the tits, to the tits. And and how would we even know? I mean, I guess we kind of are already, because how many times a day does a gal need to check her Instagram?
Well, and
according to me, 50,000.
And everything is based on algorithms. So Facebook, Instagram, everything is going to be tailored to what you like, what you talk about, because your phone is listening. Everybody's experienced that. Oh, I talked about this today, and this ad popped up on my phone.
Right.
And
I thought about one thing, and then it popped up on my
Instagram.
Yeah.
They were also talking about how Facebook, they want you to feel certain moods. So yes, one day Facebook wants to get you riled up, so they're going to post something that's opposite of what your political beliefs are.
Rile me up, Mark.
Rile me up. Or it'll make you want to be happy for a moment, so it's going to post things that it knows you like. So it's really, Facebook has kind of turned into a human mind experiment.
I mean, I think I think this has been a developing situation when when was it? Like last year when all that shit came out about Facebook being all manipulative and So, well, I mean, we've made our bed. I'm like, I don't even like Facebook. I don't go on Facebook, but I'm like, but I do go on other exact same things. Yeah. So, no difference. Okay. So, well, I mean, I will tell you what. As much as we wanted to burn down the world, and we still, let's keep that fire going, everybody. But as much as, and I'm not advocating that you burn anything at all.
Right, don't.
Don't do it. Keep yourself from burning things. Unless it's an idea. Yeah, it's an idea. It's like we're burning the idea out of the ground. Burning the idea of the government out of the ground. Sure, wink, wink. You're just like nonstop winking. But as much as we felt that way all week long, look, I think we just missed each other so much. So that was the problem. Because we just got on and giggled ourselves silly.
It's been a better week.
Yeah.
But it's just been busy, which is fine.
Yeah, it's good. It's great.
I got a new car.
You got a new car?
I got a new car.
So you're not driving the old Honda Hoopty, I guess.
Well, okay, so my Honda, I do,
I know.
my Honda, I love it. Like, honestly, when it goes, I'm probably going to cry, which it was the first, I mean, I had a Jetta, which was a nice car, but it was just so electronically messed up that I hated it.
Listen here. You know what I had once? A Jetta. You know what was the worst car I've ever had? A Jetta.
The Jetta. Seriously?
You know why? Everything that ever, it was a disaster. And if I bought it new, it would have been $36,000. Okay. It wasn't that old, but it like the windows all fell into the door one time. It was just like bad luck from the beginning. But anytime anything needed to be done to it, it was $8 million, please. Yeah.
Oil change. Like, we have to use special oil. We have to take apart the special, we have to use a special filter.
Yeah.
And if one thing went wrong with it, it's like the entire car fell apart.
Yep. Oh, it was the worst.
Awful.
And I have black leather interior, and I live in Texas, so it was brilliant. Yeah. Okay, when I sat down on it in the summer, if my car had been sitting out all day, it felt like my skin melted to the seat.
Oh.
So that is where we're ending. We had already ended it, but that is where we are ending our MK Ultra today. You don't want to be here for 5 hours. One of our listeners did say, what is this going to be, a year-long episode? And I'm like, well,
what if it is? Oh, Adam, by the way, you know what? Yeah, my face does look messed up. Thanks for reminding me.
What? I'm like, excuse me? What's that about?
Because I had posted my rash, and he was like, I don't see it. And then I posted that my face, like that day my face was, I had an allergic reaction to something, and it came out in my face. Yeah. And then he messaged, he's like, oh yeah, your face does look messed up. I see it now. I'm like, oh.
I'm like, how fucking dare you? Don't fucking talk to her like that ever again.
I laughed it off because I did look.
It was messed up, but.
Yeah, I looked like Benedict Cumberbatch. That picture of him with the puffy eyes.
Regular old Sherlock Holmes you are.
Yeah.
Okay, well, but still, don't ever fucking say that to her again. Okay. So, too bad I can't tell you about our Instagram Live that's already about to happen in an hour, everybody, but I hope you that are listening came and attended it, but I know 100% of you aren't going to be there. 90%. Yeah. 90% of you won't. But anyway, if you wanted to come join us on things like that, you could check us out at our Instagram, Creep It Real Pod. Go there and check us out. You know, we're there. We're doing stuff. We come on and talk to you and things like that. So that's about it. I don't really know what else. We'll talk to you next week. Check out our whatevers, all our stuff. We're, Creep It Real Pod. If you can't find us at Creep It Real Pod, just give up.
You're dumb.
Just give up on life. Lay down and bury yourself where you lay.
There you go.
Okay. So I bet you we'll end this. I'll be like, oh, that was what. But it's okay. So, all right. Well, we love you. Thanks for listening.
I'm gonna shower.
Oh, that's it. One thing. Thanks so much, everybody that is a listener, a dedicated ass listener.
Yeah.
We really appreciate you so much. We finally are over that 100,000 download.
Oh, yes.
Hump. And
a lot.
And it was 2 weeks after our year anniversary, so you can't really complain about it. And we owe it all to you, our babes. Okay. Well,
thank you very much.
Yep. We love you. I hope y'all love us. If you don't, I might just die. I might just die where I live. Okay, I'm just kidding, I won't. All right, we're coming at you soon. See you later.
Bye.